This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. It's turning out to be a beautiful day out there. Probably a little cold. I haven't been outside now in a couple hours. So I've been in here with you, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. We're now joined by my friend and yours, the chairman of the Donald Trump for President campaign in Massachusetts, the former sheriff of Bristol County, Tom Hodgson. Good morning, Sheriff. How are you?
Good morning, Chris. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
What's happening with the president?
Well, a lot. As you can see, he's moving pretty quickly on just about everything with regards to getting his staff in place, which is really great. And one of the great things about his first term was that he had a chance to understand, albeit some of the people he picked, because he wasn't from Washington,
right,
weren't necessarily in line with everything he needed done.
Right.
He now has picked staff and people who, for appointments, who know exactly what it is that needs to be done, and it's in line with what the American people want. And so it's really exciting. Someone was commenting yesterday about the fact that he's very different in his approach this time, and
yes.
And people seem really pleased, and people that maybe were kind of going, I don't know,
right.
Am I going to vote for him or not going to vote for him, are now saying, thank God I voted for him.
Yes.
He really does care about us.
I liked listening to people talk about the appointments, the people he wants to put in his cabinet. Pete Hesketh, defense secretary. He's got 2 Bronze Stars, Ivy League graduate. I liked what he said and some of his supporters said. He wants to focus on the lethality of our military, the ability to kill, to break things and kill people, which is what the military is supposed to do. It's not a sociological experiment, right?
Right. And that's unfortunately what it had gotten
What
to.
it's become.
Right. And so he wants to get it back to the fundamentals of
right.
what the military should be doing. And that's really important. Peace through strength.
Right.
Is what America's always been about. And it's not necessarily that we want to go fight.
No.
But people need to know that if you're going to trample on our Constitution and trample on our Republic and attempt to impose
your communist will,
your will on the American people, we're not going to stand down.
Right.
We're going to react. And unfortunately, the last 4 years we haven't seen that.
We have Tom Hodgson here in studio. Tom, you for many years were the sheriff here dealing with you were dealing with illegal immigration before anybody really. Certainly before it became the big item it is today. You saw into the future and saw what the problem was going to be. What powers do local governments, police, sheriffs have when it comes to dealing with illegal migration here in Massachusetts?
Well, based on the laws that have been passed, there's been real efforts to try to minimize any ability and tie the hands of law enforcement to be able to protect the communities, all in the interests of people who weren't born here, who came here knowingly, illegally.
Right.
It would be like people coming over you have a fence around your yard, and people climb over the fence and start to camp out in your yard, and you call the police, and the police say, "Hey, I'm sorry, if they made it over your fence, they get to stay." Right. And effectively that's. And then that person starts maybe breaking into your home, committing crimes against you, and they say, well, they have a right to be here. That's not what the American way is about. If you knock on the door of the house and ask if you can come in or you can camp out, and the people say yes, okay, great. You got permission. But we have to have these laws in place to control the growth. The fact that we haven't is evident to everybody in what you saw happen in this election. If you don't control the growth of people coming in, you can't control the infrastructure and the demands on the infrastructure that you are going to be required to provide for people for food, medical, all these other things, and it's going to break your system. And that's what people saw happen here in the United States, and that's why they're so upset and angry about it. So law enforcement, we have the opportunity, all of us in law enforcement, and not only opportunity, but the obligation to do everything we can to protect the people that we were sworn to protect. That's the American people and the legal residents here in the United States who've done it the right way. And the way we do that is we collaborate. Don't forget, Chris, 9/11. If there was any lesson we learned in 9/11, we've talked about this before, it was that law enforcement needed to collaborate. If FBI, DEA, and ATF can collaborate with us and we can be on their task forces, why wouldn't you want the one agency, ICE, who's trying to keep this neighborhood safe because of the real problem we're having around crime with this, from us working with them? It makes no sense, and it defies everything, not just law enforcement swore to do, but so did these legislators and the governor of Massachusetts. And it's so we need to get back to that.
What is that federal program that you used, Tom?
So what we did was of course, I've been doing ICE detention for almost 25 and a half years as sheriff. And I started that program over in the Azores, where the transition program, where they could assimilate over there successfully. I worked with President Cesar at the time.
When someone got deported.
When they got deported. Right. So the benefit to us was, by us working with them and helping them develop these transition houses, training their social workers and all that, the benefit to us as the taxpayers here in Massachusetts and for us in law enforcement was, if we can get them to assimilate successfully there and they don't come back, they won't commit more crimes, cost us more in the courts, cost us more coming into prisons, all that. So you know, when I first started with that, the whole point was for the not just the detention, but also the 287G program, which is what I think one of the things you're referring to, Chris, which is a program whereby, for example, sheriff's office can have their staff go down to Georgia, be trained.
Yep.
They're certified as sort of deputy ICE agents. When somebody gets brought into the facility, they're arrested in New Bedford, they get brought into Bristol. Then right away, that individual who's trained, we had several that were on different shifts, would immediately have the right to go and get access deep into the ICE database.
Okay.
And obtain information about any individual that identified as not being a natural citizen. And at that point, if they find that this person is wanted, they notify ICE right away as soon as they see any indicators, and the ICE agent will say, issue a detainer on them. We had the power to issue the detainer and hold them until such time as ICE got there, under 287G.
That program exists only a couple places now, right? Maybe only one?
Well, I don't even know if Plymouth has 287G. They do detention, but I don't believe they have the 287G program. I think we were the only ones that had that in place.
What is happening with Plymouth County?
I have to tell you, I give so much credit to Sheriff McDonald. He's a strong leader. What he's done is he just signed another 5-year agreement with ICE for detention to hold these individuals. And the people of Plymouth and actually this surrounding area are going to benefit from it.
Yes.
Because otherwise these people would have been let out if it wasn't for Sheriff McDonald. And they could be in New Bedford, Mattapoisett, who knows where, committing more crimes. But thanks to his leadership, he's doing a great job.
Sheriff McDonald also allows his crime scene team to come over and back up the New Bedford police. I know he's got his canines come over here. Paul Douglas, who used to be with you, is with Sheriff McDonald now. They're over here in the city backing up the New Bedford police all the time.
Yeah, they are. And, I always had a great partnership with Sheriff McDonald and also at the time Sheriff Cummings. We worked a great partnership together, which is how it's supposed to be, to put forward the strongest public safety front that you can and allow the people in our neighborhoods to feel safe.
We have Tom Hodgson here in studio. He'll take your calls at 508-996-0500. Long Moving and Storage, based in Westport. That's who you want to call for your next move. Maybe you're moving just across town or up north, or maybe you have to get a kid to college in January. Maybe it's an emergency move because there's flood damage or some unexpected event, right? Maybe your wife says, hit the road. It's time for you to go, right? I hit the lottery. We'll pack up your stuff. Where are we going? I don't know where you're going, but I'm out of here. Anyway, maybe just an estate clean out or junk removal. Perry Long and his team at Long Moving and Storage will make it stress-free. These guys will pack it up, haul it, and unpack it. It's a family-owned business, so they're going to take really good care of your stuff and make it a personal move. So whether you're doing corporate moves, a little business move, a family move, an entire house, whatever it is. We've used them here at WBSM. We used to have some 80s furniture and these big, heavy file cabinets. They said, hey, Chris, we're going to move a bunch of stuff this weekend. I said, not me. Call Long Storage. Call Perry Long at Long Moving and Storage. I won't be here. You don't have workers' comp for me on that, but Perry Long and his crew do. So Long Moving and Storage, it's the only team you want to call when it's time to make a move, right? They're located in Westport. They're a local business. Give them a call. Tom, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Folks, stick around. We'll be right back. We're going to want to remind everybody that thanks to the good men and women at the New Bedford Fire Department, the fire union, they've sponsored Santa Claus. They're going to make an arrangement for Santa Claus to be here tonight. The real deal. The big guy will be here at 7 o'clock. He's going to be here for 2 hours taking phone calls from all the good little boys and girls, or the bad ones. We don't really know, Tom. You could have called when you were a kid. But what category were you have been in, Tom?
We're not going to get into that.
All right. Your silence
I did get some
deafening.
gifts.
You did. Sure, you did. You had
And it wasn't coal.
So if you have young kids, grandkids, get them by the radio tonight because Santa Claus will be here 7 o'clock tonight for 2 hours. So it's going to be great. And again, that's because the great men and women at the New Bedford Fire Union have made arrangements for the big guy to get here. So we really appreciate that. Mac Auto Sales, 188 Rivet Street, New Bedford. They make all this magic here possible. And they repair all makes and models. So if you need to winterize your car, and I bet you do, call Mac Auto Sales and Repair, 508-565-6221. They're open weekdays, 9 to 5 for your convenience. If you have a foreign car that needs repair, Mac Auto Sales specializes in foreign car servicing. Ask about their aftermarket accessories and their quality used cars. Great way to beat inflation is to buy a new-to-you car from Mac Auto Sales. Tell them Chris McCarthy sent you. So, Tom, we had another person switch to the Republican Party yesterday, Jesse St. Gilles, who had a strong showing, first time ever running for state representative. He's based out of Acushnet, but the district is New Bedford, Freetown, Westport, and a little bit of Fall River. Republican Party's on the rise here in Massachusetts.
There's no question about it. And we're seeing, I saw it all through the campaign. I saw people that were saying that they were Democrats all their lives, were going to be voting for Trump. And it was clear to me that there was a whole new movement. And maybe, people ask me, why Massachusetts? And my answer is because they represented everything. They were probably like the poster child, except for California, of how woke and left-wing things got.
Right. That
what we saw happen across the country, where people say, "No, I don't want to pay $10 for a dozen eggs. I don't want to pay $7 for butter." That what they were seeing was these people, and particularly the more liberal left-wing politicians in Massachusetts, who basically have kind of dominated things by their numbers up at the State House. That, look, I don't care whether you like it or not. This is the philosophy that the leadership wants, so this is how we're going to do it.
Go along to get along.
And people finally said, no, you're not.
Right.
Okay, you're hurting me, my family, my community, our medical care, our education, all these things. And so now people are saying, I need to take a look in a different place. This party that Democrat Party doesn't represent the things that matter to me and my kids and my grandkids and my neighbors. And people are now stepping up.
You see that what was once a great American political party, the Democrats, have been hijacked by these really strange characters, radicals, violent radicals in some cases, with really weird philosophies about life.
Yeah, and Chris, what's really, I think, important, and I think people have come to this understanding now, we have all of us have friends that are Democrats, and Democrats have friends that are Republicans. And it isn't about, you can have a different opinion and a different philosophy. That's good. It's healthy for us to kind of get other people's perspectives, and maybe it rounds out some of the things that we weren't looking at or what have you. But in the end, we do that because by combining those things, we make America stronger and better, just like our parents and our grandparents and all of them before, going back in our history. So this isn't about, hey, you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican. This is about what party is representing the things that are most important for us to build a stronger and a safer and more prosperous America. And I think people are seeing now that it's the more conservative positions that that the Democrat Party completely erased and wouldn't even consider that have gotten us to this point.
The idea that they wouldn't let the Teamsters speak at their convention is really all you need to know.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Of course. You, why wouldn't you want to be inclusive?
Right.
Right? It makes no sense. You, whenever that happens, and somebody says, and we've seen it a lot, you can see it on Facebook and all over the place, people will go, well, if you don't like my position, then don't even bother responding to me. Right. It's sort of like, what? And when you get to that point and you can't just open up and let people give their point of view and maybe give your side, but without emotion, just kind of, hey, this is what I believe. Where do you come from with that? What makes you feel that way?
Right.
Those are the kind of conversations that we need to get back to. And I think it isn't about just going hardline conservative. It's about let's do what's good for America. And we always talk about this, you and me.
Yeah.
The flag's red, white, and blue, not red and blue.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Tom, speaking of some great Americans, the Prince Henry Society.
Yeah, they're doing
great stuff.
They do great work. Yeah. And they're doing actually this weekend.
Yeah. What are they doing?
They're going to be filling baskets for 200 needy families, and these are people from all different walks of life in the Prince Henry Society coming together. And they're going to be providing these baskets. They're going to have turkey, ham, all kinds of food for not just the people in the community, but also veterans. So it's going to be needy veterans and needy families.
They got 200 baskets they filled.
They got 200 that they're putting together. I'll be there for the part of it with a lot of other people, and we're gonna have a real opportunity to make a difference and bring some real happiness to people who otherwise might have not enjoyed the holiday as much.
It feels good to give, Tom.
That's what it's about.
Right? It really feels good to give.
This holiday is about. If you really want to be happy, that's what Christmas is really about.
Yes.
It's making a difference for other people, and
it's amazing. And
happiness.
The men and women, now it's women, the men and women of the Prince Henry Society, amazing members of our community.
Yeah, they are so committed. They do so much that people don't even know about.
Right.
They don't talk about it. But I was at an event. We were handing out food to needy people down the South End at the park down there, and it's amazing how they just step in. And it's all about how do we make our community better. And they're really amazing people.
I'll tell you something, Tom. Good friend of yours, Paul Douglas, good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He and his wife, Sandy, they do amazing stuff, obviously. But I was with them one time. They were give me a ride to dialysis, and they had their kids in the car. Oh, yeah. And they were talking about the kids were going to help them put the baskets together.
Yeah.
This is last year. And I think it was on this basket. May have been for a different time of the season. But the fact that the Prince Henry Society, they involve their kids so that sense of tradition, that charity, it carries on from one generation to the other. The kids
I brought my grandson down to do the one at South End. And you know what? That and you'll see that with particularly in the Portuguese community. They bring so many of their kids because they want them to understand why they're doing what they're doing and to get the good feelings early so they can carry that tradition on. Because in the end, aren't we all here for each other? Isn't that what really it's supposed to be about?
Absolutely. And, like you and I are Catholics. We grew up, you had to do so much community service before you made your confirmation, all of that. And so it's just part of being a good person. Right?
Yeah. And so, but the Prince Henry Society they are an amazing organization.
Yes.
That's what their focus is what can we do to make the community better and support people in need.
You know who also makes the community a better place? Carter's Clothing and Footwear. Tom, the Christmas stroll is this weekend down in New Bedford. Downtown New Bedford looks fantastic. Go down to Carter's Clothing and Footwear. If you haven't started your shopping yet, that's all right because you can get in and get out of Carter's without a lot of rush. It's really a nice store, and they've got very helpful people there. Owned by the same family since 1947. Free parking. Free parking gets you in and gets you out, both in downtown New Bedford and 288 Plymouth Ave in Fall River. Oftentimes, you'll be waited on by a member of the Carter family. Kevin Carter, Trevor Carter. The dad is still around over there sometimes. Carter's has all kinds of clothing, all kinds of boots, all kinds of shoes, topsiders, Chippewa boots, Timberland boots. They've even got slippers down there. They've got my favorite, linen-lined pants, flannel-lined linen pants, right? They're the best. Helpful customer service, extended hours on the holidays. The other thing I like about Carter's Clothing and Footwear is since they've been around so long, you know they're going to be around tomorrow. So you can invest in a gift card as a gift. If you can't decide what someone wants, just get them a gift card from Carter's Clothing and Footwear. 2 locations, Plymouth Ave in Fall River and William Street in downtown New Bedford. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing well, my friend.
Well, Tom gave me and a bunch of other people a nice Christmas gift a little bit early, so I thanks for all that work you put in on the election. It was great.
I had a great team. We had a great team.
Yeah, no question. Well, I had a question because Kash Patel is going to be the FBI director. At least that's the plan. In his book, and looking back at the first Trump election, he sort of detailed what happened. Like at this time in 2016, the media and the deep state, whatever you want to describe as the deep state, was going after Trump, and they were already lining up, General Flynn to get, brought to court, and all of these things. It seems very different now. It seems like someone threw a grenade in the tent, and boom, they're all gone, and they don't seem to be. I think it was Clinton and Obama were driving the deep state to do anything against Trump because they were butthurt about the first election. And it just seems like that's just gone. I mean, you hear a little bit of media sort of, ticky-tack stuff, but everything's very hands-off. What's your kind of take on it?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think what's happened is, I was saying this to somebody yesterday. They threw everything they possibly could. They tried every single thing, lawsuits, impeachments, everything at President Trump. And I think they probably thought, hey, look, we throw 15, 20 things at him. You can be guaranteed at least 2 or 3 are going to stick. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. And in fact, all they did was show the American people that this was a government that was more focused on their insider baseball politics because they didn't like the fact that they had a man who came out on day one when he first got elected and said, I'm going to drain the swamp. And I've often said this. It's like walking into a room full of mob bosses and telling the mob bosses, I know you guys are all competitors. You have your own little fiefdoms, but I'm telling you right now, I'm shutting you all down. No more dealing drugs in the community. No more laundering money. No more killing people or anything else. I'm shutting you down. And thinking when you walked out of that room that they're all going to go, okay, I guess we're not going to do this anymore.
Right.
No.
You might not have got out of that room with getting tapped in the back of the head.
Exactly. But the point being that remember, they were competitors until such time as somebody said, hey, I'm shutting down your business. And that's what President Trump essentially did about the establishment in Washington when he said that. And they were all like, oh, no, you're not ruining our deals we have with Ukraine and all these other countries around the world and all these deals we've cut with them. You're not. We're making money on these things. We're not gonna let you shut us down. And they tried everything they could. But you know what? Thank God for the American people that they saw through it eventually. Saw through it and said, oh no, these people aren't representing us. So he essentially has exposed that. Now the rubber's going to meet the road. Because the president now is putting the people in place to finally do what he said he was going to do in his first term. And I can assure you, I believe in my heart of hearts, he's going to accomplish that. And America's going to be in a much stronger, better, more prosperous, safer place.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that, there was a great morality in America that exists all the time. You guys are talking about Christian and Catholic backgrounds, and that pendulum was so swung far to the left in an area that was, not immoral in a lot of ways. And I knew this was going to swing back. And I just hope that people enjoy this presidency, but are vigilant going forward. It's time to kind of, be leaning forward, as we look at new people being elected and going forward, because that lack of vigilance is what happened and got the Democrats where they were.
Yeah. So. And I guess in kind of closing it out, I would say that it'd be watch and see what all these leaders, business leaders, all these leaders of these countries are doing now. I think the president of China has been invited to the inauguration, if I'm not mistaken. Look, these are bold moves, but there are things that I think people are starting to say, wait a minute, the guy they kept telling us was trying to divide us and ruin us is actually, he's trying to bring everybody together. And guess what? They're coming.
He's putting another Kennedy into government.
Yeah, they're coming.
Who would ever think that the highest profile Kennedy in politics would be in a Republican administration?
Yeah, and that's a great point, Chris. And so we needed this country to come. I mean, we've been dying for unity. We've had so much division for so long. And who would have thought, given all that they've done to the president, that he would ultimately be the one? And I believe it's divine intervention, to be honest with you.
I do too.
And I think that it's meant to be.
We saw it on stage in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing where Bibles are being returned to schools,
right.
and as it should be. So things are coming together.
508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Yes. Hello?
Hello, you're on the air.
I call you.
Okay, great. Hey, yes, I really enjoy the show. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
That was a perfect analogy about the boss coming in and throwing down the hammer, about the immigration thing.
Not the hammer on the gun, though.
No, not yet. So,
right.
I would talk to a couple of lawyers, and I remember a show on 60 Minutes a few years ago. Make it quick. The second most complicated department in the government is the immigration stuff, and it's very, very, very complicated. And I talked to a couple of lawyers, and they said the problem is that all the presidents have, is that they can only do executive orders. And so it's a mishmash of executive orders, trying to do this, trying to do that, and that there has been no immigration reform, no true immigration, direction in this country. The last piece of legislation was 1986. And the National Chamber of Commerce is always begging the country to make some legislation. Let's get our labor laws and our labor pool straightened out. We need people to work this country. Capitalism's got to have people to grow.
Well,
since 1986, the Congress hasn't done anything. And I wonder the sheriff could address that's the real problem. The boss isn't taking charge.
I can
Tom, you've been working on this. You were working on this for years. Thanks for calling, my friend. Great question.
I go back to the days of not long after I became sheriff. I was back and forth to Washington. I was testifying before Congress, and I worked with Henry Hyde and Barney Frank on a bipartisan bill that actually made it through the House. It was the beginnings of some legitimate immigration reform, but as it has been for over 25 years now, and you're absolutely right, caller, the ultimate problem lies in the laps of the members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. So what would happen is, in that instance where it got through the House, I remember going over to John Kerry's office and saying, hey, this needs to get passed through the Senate. And then I went to another senator's office, told him the same thing. He basically said to me, this Republican senator said, look, I'm not against, my wife is an immigrant. He said, I'm not against immigration.
Right.
He said, what I'm against is the fact that now that this bill is positioned to go through the Senate, what the Democrats have done is and it could have been the other way around in future years, but what the Democrats did was they said, we don't want in there two serious types of crimes to be deportable offenses.
Really?
Yeah, and they did it because they knew that the Republicans wouldn't go for it.
They wanted to kill it.
And they wanted to kill it. And this is what's going on. So both parties are responsible over the years for sort of using that immigration reform as a way to leverage to try to get immigrants to vote for them, to say, hey, listen, we were sticking up for you guys.
Right.
And that is probably one of the best examples of what's wrong in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Capitol. These people are more focused on their personal agendas and getting reelected than they are on taking care of the people.
Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
What's happening?
Morning, Tom.
Morning, caller.
Beautiful day today, isn't it?
Yes.
I have a question that just might be a little off topic, but maybe Tom could add something to this. What is up with these drones I've been seeing all over?
We were just talking about that off the air. Tom, what do you think?
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Glad.
Off the air, yeah.
I'd love to hear what you guys had, and they're going to get the military involved. Has you heard anything? I'm curious, because I've been seeing them, and
it's
pictures of them, too.
Yeah, and I just
I'll hang up and listen, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just saw a member of Congress was just on the TV saying that he got a complete briefing and that there's no threat to public safety. How they know that, I have no clue. Because if you really knew what they were and what's going on, how can you say, you would have to know what they are,
right,
to be able to say it's not a public safety threat. So if you know what they are, why aren't you telling us?
Right.
So therein lies the contradiction.
It is very interesting because last year during the Portuguese feast, I was listening to the scanner, and because there was a drone overhead, and they had Homeland Security there for the Portuguese feast, and they were able to trace the operator of the drone right to the street he was standing on. And the New Bedford police went to go see him, and again, I picked this up on the scanner, basically told the guy to knock it off, right? But they could track it from the sky right to the corner, the guy who was directing it. I don't know why the same federal Homeland Security can't do it in New Jersey.
Right. And does it make sense to any of us that
No.
that they're saying, a lot of that is regular aircraft flying over? Well, why all of a sudden?
Right.
Is it suddenly aircraft and everybody's seeing these things all over the place and suddenly they're saying, well, they're mistaking it for regular aircraft? No.
Tom, I might be a little skeptical of the federal government.
Well, I'm a lot.
I remember when there was, this isn't laughing, but there was Flight 800. Do you remember TWA 800? Mm-hmm. It took off from New York and was blown out of the sky.
Yeah.
They claimed, there was a bomb, or there wasn't a bomb, it was just a gasoline engine. The CIA is the one that produced the video to explain how it blew up. But I was paying attention to the military veterans. They were flying helicopters that night and saw the missile come off the beach, off the water and from a boat and hit the plane. So there's always stuff out there. That's international waters right out there.
Yeah, look, we can go. You can go to the Kennedy assassination. You go to a lot of things when it comes to the in Washington. In my view,
you grew up there.
I did, right outside of D.C. And for me, and I paid kind of close attention as I was growing up with what was going on there and so forth. But when they say, "Hey, listen, the information you have, if that's released, in the interest that they can always use the overhead excuse that in the interest of national security, we can't allow you to go on like this. We're going to have to take you out." Right. And they will use it and justify it in their minds that it's in the interest of national security.
We're going to take a quick break. If you're on hold, stay there.
It's a scary thing.
Stay there. We'll be right back. Have a governor. I know you know her well. How do you think she's doing, Tom? If you had to rate the governor, A is excellent, F is terrible. What would you give her for a grade?
I'd probably give her a D.
A D. All right. Well, that's optimistic.
Yeah. Well, it's a long way to go to an A, but unfortunately, and I've known her even when she was Attorney General. She's completely driven by her politics.
Right.
And I think most people in Massachusetts see it now. I think she's vulnerable in the next election if someone decides to run against her. She is not interested in doing the people's work.
Right.
Look at the money's being spent on the illegals. There's some things going on right now, which I think I mentioned to you before. There's a report of a building that's being built up right near the shelter up in Taunton. Excuse me.
Okay.
The old Holiday Inn there in the industrial park, and the employees, the workers, the construction workers were told they couldn't bring their phones there because they didn't want people to know that it was going to be being built, and they didn't want it out there. I just received information recently that allegedly they're removing 500 acres of trees about 5 miles north of the TD Center. I'm trying to locate the exact place. It's a town, but supposedly that's going to be a big complex for sheltering. And what's really, really striking is about a week ago, she came out in the paper and said, we're going to be phasing out these shelters. Okay, in over the course of 2 years. Well, what in 2 years is going to be there to replace it? Is it going to be these things that you don't want anybody to know about?
Right.
That are being built and that you're aware of? And look, her and Wu saying we're not going to cooperate. We're not going to let
the mayor of Boston.
Yeah, they're not going to cooperate with ICE. And look at these kids, the rapes, the sex trafficking, human trafficking, out of control. Who do you represent? If you don't represent the people of the community as the governor, the people you were sworn to protect, then why are you even there?
Who does she represent?
That's the question.
Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hi. Colin.
My question to you, Tom, is what do you think about how they have all this information on Luigi Mangione within a week of, what he did, and there's still nothing out there about Thomas Crooks? We know nothing. His parents have never been interviewed. There's nothing about him.
The murderer in Pennsylvania.
The guy who tried to kill Trump in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well,
Great question.
Yeah, that is a great question because you got all these federal agencies that are supposed to be looking into it. You know, Secret Service, FBI, everybody else, and they can't come up with the information to reveal to the public. I think it's something everybody ought to be concerned about, and we have a right to have the information.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Get things done. How do they get involved with the grassroots campaign that keeps supporting the president?
Well, they can continue to go to massfortrump2024.com. We're still active on the Facebook page and the website, so they could get involved and see that there's activities going on and different meetings that are happening and so forth.
It's important to call your U.S. Senator, your U.S. members of Congress,
always
to lobby them to vote for the Trump agenda.
Absolutely.
Even if it's Liz Warren, it doesn't matter. Just call anyway.
Absolutely.
Right?
The more they get, and write your op-ed pieces if you want in newspapers and see if you can't get on this great show that Chris runs.
I'd love to have you folks. You can call anytime at 508-996-05. Tom, I want to thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, stick around for Barry Richard. He'll be here after a little bit of Bill O'Reilly, right? Catch a little bit of Bill O'Reilly, then a lot of Barry Richard. Barry will be here. And then this weekend, of course, we'll have Ken Pittman on Saturday, Jose Matos on Saturday, Brian the Cabbie on Saturday. We got great local programming all weekend long. So make sure you stick around. And if you want to help out the mini miracle, right, go to the WBSM app, go to the website, WBSM.com, click on it,